What kind of weird stuff is going on in Alabama in regards to the nuances of the medical program?
Nothing smokable.
Nothing smokable.
Well, Florida started with nothing smokable.
No vapes. No smokable flower. You'll be able to ingest it in the forms of like tinctures, capsules, nebulizers, suppressors, and things like that. So it's a non.
Uncle Mike, there's nothing smokable in Alabama. You don't want to go there.
Spoke in front of the Alabama Health Committee to be able to support it. It's still a lot of ignorance and stigma around the plant in Alabama. A lot of folks still think it's the devil's lettuce, the gateway drug. There's not enough research on it. And when I got up there and speak behind, a woman that felt like, cannabis killed her baby because her daughter died in a car accident and the driver happened to have cannabis in his system. She blamed the cannabis for that. So it's like, to be able to debunk that and reprogram that kind of thought process about the plant and to be able to create and develop these opportunities. Because the industry is here, it's coming, it's growing, it's developing, and we have to make sure that Alabamians as a whole is, creating an educated consumer, because we still suffer with the stigma.
We are back with another episode of Unshackled MJBizCon 2023. I think this is episode number 3. We already did Colorado. We had a brief introduction as to what the project is here, the state of the states, what's happening, the 1, 2, 3s, ABCs. And this is why I love this, is because I don't know anything about what's happening in Alabama. I am a master of Arizona. I know my way around Nevada, California, and some of the things out west. But I wouldn't know who to start. I wouldn't know who to call. But we have got you somebody from Alabama, Antoine, who's been active in the market, who's going to give us the 1, 2, 3s, ABCs. I think it's medical. I think it's adult use. I'm not even sure what the status is. And we're going to go through a little bit about the history and learn about him, his company. And I'm here with co-host from Dispo, who's made all this happen today, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm excited to learn about Alabama myself.
Right.
We've done some stuff in Mississippi. The South is, being the Bible Belt. You knew it was going to kind of be one of the last markets, that and, the Dakotas and Idahos of the world. But yeah, I'm excited to hear what's going on out there and where the market is and what we can do to be involved.
Yeah, and let's find out. There's ancillary, there's auxiliary, there's retail, there's retail, dispensaries, cultivators, manufacturers, brands, all kinds of people looking at Alabama. So it's impossible to cover it all. But let's first start with who you are and what company you work with, what associations work with, and how you're involved in Alabama. And then we'll build from there about Alabama. Is that cool?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So Alabama is it's a new emerging market. So a little bit about me. My name is Antoine Mordican. I'm the CEO of Natal Cultivation, which we're expiring medical cannabis cultivation company in Alabama. I also serve as the Alabama State Director for Minority for Medical Marijuana. I've been very active, a pivotal piece in the legislation and the law that we currently have now in Alabama. I spoke in front of the Alabama Health Committee to support the law that we have to make sure that we prioritize Alabamians as this industry continues to grow and develop, making sure that we get minority participation, involvement, and making sure we get our HBCUs, our higher institutions involved out there, and ultimately just educating the public. It's a novice and growing industry, so it's a lot of education that comes with this as well. But that's what we're working on in Alabama. It's a medical market, no smokable flower.
Okay, so first of all, Jeff, are you pleased with the quality of individuals who are bringing to you?
100%, Dimitri.
I mean, you
never cease to impress me.
This is shout out to Larissa. I didn't set up everybody, but Larissa got this guy too. I love it. I'm going to learn about Alabama. Let's go. So where is Alabama now? When did you become medical?
So in 2021, the bill got signed. Governor Kay Irie signed the act to be able to erect the medical cannabis program. So we are in the issuing of the license phase as of right now. It's been a roller coaster, as the best way I can be able to describe it, to be able to award licenses. So to kind of give a timeline on how we got to where we are and where we are with awarding the license. So the beginning of this year, the applications was due for evaluations. Then you had your correction. So June 13th of 2023, the commission initially awarded licenses. Then within a week, they recognized some inconsistencies in their tabulation, evaluations of scores. They ended up putting a stay and a hold on themselves. And ultimately ended up pulling the licenses back. They also had a restraining order placed on them as well too, due to some inconsistencies in the way how they went about evaluating the applications and actually awarding the licenses.
And this was June 2023.
Yeah. This was recent.
Okay, so before we get into what's happened since then, let's give a little bit of overview. What licenses they issue? Vertical, horizontal, dispensary? How's the licensing structure work in Alabama?
I got you. So it's a limited licensing state. So they're giving out 5 vertically integrated licenses. Well, let me step back. They're giving out 12 cultivation licenses, which is one of the licenses that I'm going for.
Right.
And the unique thing about my position in Alabama, only 12 applicants actually applied to be able to go for those cultivation
Really?
licenses. Yeah. And they only giving out 4 processing licenses, which we have a lot of applicants going for those. They only giving out 4 dispensary licenses, which we have a lot of applicants going for those.
4 dispensary licenses in the
4
state?
dispensary licenses. They can have, like, I think up to 3 or 5 dispensary locations.
Okay.
So
What is the population of Alabama?
we got 5 million residents in Alabama.
That's a
So
decent-sized state.
we got 4 dispensaries, we've got 3, and all these things are so arbitrary and so this and that, and they'll evolve it over time. But there does create a unique opportunity as exists to grab those. There's money in the licensing game. That's kind of the story of the legalization of cannabis. So you got 4 up there, and you got processing, but it's not vertical, right?
No, not. They do have. They will be issuing vertically integrated license. They will only be issuing 5 of those.
5 of those over here.
So they'll be able to own the full supply chain, and then there's no limits on secure transportation, no limit on state lab testing.
Lab testing, another licensing class, secure transportation. Now, over these 5 vertical licenses, they haven't been issued yet?
They have been awarded. They have not been issued.
Okay, so those are above and beyond those retails that exist.
That's correct.
Okay, now, can they have 2 or 3 or 4 locations?
That's correct.
How many do they have?
They can have up to about 4 or 5 dispensary locations as well, too. Cultivators don't really have a cap on how many facilities or how much canopy space that they can have. That's about...
Are they keeping it to state residents like a lot of people do? Or are they allowing MSOs to come in and
That's
take
the
over?
goal of the program. Let me say that. That's the goal of the program. So how Alabama was structured, they had a requirement that you have to have at least 15 years of consecutive residency to be able to obtain a license in Alabama. And then they also had a social equity clause in there that 25% of the license go to at least 51% minority-owned or operated companies. So the goal is to make sure that we prioritize Alabamians, especially the patients, of course, and then the business owners and the farmers as well too. But a lot of the MSOs are going for vertically integrated license, which they do have an opportunity. But however, the whole goal was to make sure that it's an Alabama prioritized industry.
I think there's been some lawsuits in other states by the MSOs who want to get in the game about the legality of restricting in that manner. I'm not sure. I'm not sure the results of it.
And it's complicated because you deal with a lot of public policy things. This is why I'm a free market guy, because there's no real answer to this. I don't like to restrict the movement of individuals across the United States. You're from Alabama, I'm from Arizona, but you're welcome in my state. I should be welcome in yours. We're all Americans, free trade. So it gets really complicated and nuanced, you know what I'm saying? But then you were talking about the MSOs. There's 2 types of MSOs. Okay? There's MSOs like my friends at the Mint, which are great guys. They're a mom and pop operation, and they're all over Arizona, and they have expertise, and they want to go to the next state.
Well, they are.
So that makes them an MSO, right? But there's nothing wrong with them. They're extremely talented. They've got great resources, great information, great skills. Why shouldn't they be allowed to go to the next state? Maybe be required to partner with somebody. And every state's doing it differently. That's one of the reasons why we're doing the show. And then there's those MSOs that just don't give a damn.
Publicly traded.
Yeah, the publicly
answerable to their shareholders
right,
only, and not the community.
And I don't mean to interrupt you, but the fact of the matter is that everybody has known the Canadian publicly traded stock market is kind of like shim-sham, funny-duddy kind of stuff for decades. And then now it kind of enters into cannabis. All these gold companies become cannabis companies, and there's a lack of accountability behind the scenes, and then they kind of give the concept of MSOs a bad name. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no question.
So you guys have been wrestling with this from a policy perspective as just all this evolving. You've been involved in the scenes.
Yeah, it's been a forever uphill battle, especially myself as an owner in the space in the industry with me seeking a license and me not making sure that the community are the ones to have the direct benefit from it versus those unfortunately coming from out of state. It's be able to continue to circulate the economics within our community, but most importantly, just making sure that Alabama win all the way across the board. Because you get a lot of folks, and I can speak from experience that this industry is very predatory.
Yeah.
Extremely very predatory, and for those that are trying to get into the state, they'll manipulate it in such a way that they not those good MSOs.
Yeah.
So it's a double-edged sword, but I know just from my position, my perspective, making sure that we getting true Alabama farmers involved in the space and making sure that we are growing a quality product, making sure that we getting the black community involved and making sure that we're creating opportunities for ancillary businesses to be able to get into it. I had to be able to put myself in position so I can be able to make sure that happens.
So this is only medical right now?
Only medical,
okay.
Only medical.
And tell us a little bit about what that means to them. Isn't there like restrictions? Which Georgia did you could only do peach or something, what kind of weird stuff is going on in Alabama in regards to the nuances of the medical program?
Nothing smokable.
Nothing smokable.
Well, Florida started with nothing smokable.
No vapes, no smokable flower. You'll be able to ingest it in the forms of like tinctures, capsules, nebulizers, suppressors, and things like that. So it's a non.
Uncle Mike, there's nothing smokable in Alabama. You don't want to go there.
Please don't. Please don't. Be law-abiding citizens.
Sorry. Anyway, my uncle loves flower.
Edibles?
Yeah, they will have gummies. A universal flavor gummy, only one flavor. And they have decided it's a citrus flavor. But it's one gummy, like no sugar coat. It's yeah. They don't want it to be addictive and presentable and marketable to kids.
A lot of that is conservative politicians slowing the market down as much as they can. I'm sure it was voted on by the people to have medical marijuana against the will of most of your legislators.
Yeah, it's just the way how we even got it signed into law was a very interesting process and program itself. Like I said, when I spoke in front of Alabama Health Committee to be able to support it, it's still a lot of ignorance and stigma around the plant in Alabama. A lot of folks still think it's the devil's lettuce, the gateway drug. It's not enough research on it. And when I got up there and speak behind, a woman that felt like, cannabis killed her baby because her daughter died in a car accident and the driver happened to have cannabis in his system, she blamed the cannabis for that. So it's like, to be able to debunk that and reprogram that kind of thought process about the plant and to be able to create and develop these opportunities, because the industry is here, it's coming, it's growing, it's developing, and we have to make sure that Alabamians as a whole is creating an educated consumer, because we still suffer with the stigma.
And I'm constantly talking about this theme on MITA Unshackled, and I have no problem with the fuddy-duddies and having to educate them, and I even get the gamesmanship, like if 10 people, old-timers who hate cannabis get together and say, hey, let's figure out a way to fuck with these guys. Let's figure out a way to slow this down. Citrus only, have to be square. I get it. That's their agenda, and that's what they truly believe in their heart. I have a problem when the lobbyists come in from the interests that have been established or who have gotten a license, who then manipulate on their own behalf and then claim to be part of this industry, supporting this industry, and the hundreds of thousands of individuals that are part of it. And that we see happening in different states, different capacities. You probably see some form of that in Alabama.
Yeah, we definitely see that, and that's one of the biggest things that I push from my company standpoint, the community engagement involvement. Like I graduated from Alabama A&M University, which is a HBCU in Alabama. We've been growing hemp in the state of Alabama since 2019. We have other universities, HBCUs, that have also been growing cannabis. We have farmers in Alabama that has also been growing cannabis in some form. So it's just making sure that we prioritize that we give it back to the community. And like I said, to be able to see a program that we really want to see in Alabama, we're going to have to create a educated voter and an educated consumer, so they can be able to go into reach to their legislators and their senators and their representatives, as a constituent, this is what they want them to support and stay on. However, it's been a communication lack barrier in that between getting that information to the people. And with myself as the Alabama State Director for Minorities for Medical Marijuana, I am a conduit for that, and I have a platform to be able to get that message out to the people. So it's a slow moving ship, but we get it. But we most important, making sure we prioritize community engagement.
Their motivations tend to change once tax revenue starts coming in.
I'm thinking to myself.
We ain't there yet, but I know it's coming.
As soon as he gets one of those 12 licenses, he's going to didn't know shit about limited licensing or market structures. And, I studied economics my whole life like everybody else has. But, it's so important to have opportunity available. For example, let me give Dispo's a great packaging company. If I wanted to start a packaging company, you know what I would do? I would go to work for Dispo. And I would listen to John. And I would listen to Jeff. And I would watch Natalie. And I would see what they do. And I would get trained. And I would become an absolute expert. And then I would go over to another country.
and you'd have to. Otherwise, we'd find you.
Far away. And I would start my own thing. Right? I'm an employee who has a dream, who has hopes, who gathered information, and who took it and moved forward and did my own thing. And John and Jeff, because they're good guys, they'd be like rooting for you. I was like, good, go do it. If you can do better, whatever. And they don't want to manipulate the government to make sure that other people can't do packaging. You see what I'm saying? And so if you don't allow for an open market, for competition, for expanded licensing, you are creating a system that crushes the hopes and dreams of the people. I don't care what color, what wealth they are. If you crush the hopes and dreams of the citizen, you have a bankrupt society. And that's part of the themes that I'm trying to educate people about. I'm not actively involved. I'm not lobbying anywhere. I could, but nobody pays people to lobby for the free market. You know what I'm saying? So it's a complicated. And the drug war 2.0, prohibition 2.0, civil sanctions, criminal sanctions. How do you punish those people in Alabama that aren't participating the way that the government wants them to? You're going to find a bunch more people in jail, maybe, or with fines, bad credit scores. What's going to happen?
We got ways to go.
So we have to keep moving. But I love this because we get guys like this, Jeff.
Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you, man.
It's a pleasure meeting you, Jeff.
Best of luck. Best of luck.
Thank you.
So give us some closing thoughts and how do people get in touch with you? And this is your guy to call if you wanted to have anything to do with Alabama.
Yeah, so the best way to get in contact with me is via LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn at Antoine Mordican. You can also find me at natalblackcultivation.com. Also seek membership with Minorities for Medical Marijuana. We're doing a lot of great things in Alabama. And just closing remarks, just pay attention to what's going on in Alabama. Making sure we educating folks along the way, that we're not leaving folks ignorant, just kind of pushing something in front of them. And ultimately lifting a state as a whole for the opportunity that we have, especially in the Black Belt in Alabama, which is, we're not the poorest state, but we can definitely use the economic stimulation that's going to come from it. So just making sure we're looking out, connecting with good individuals in the space, and as we continue to support and advocate for one another, continue to do great things.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so as you get successful as a cultivator, you're going to use Dispo packaging.
Let's talk.
100%.
And you're going to join MITA.
Let's talk, baby.
All right. Good to see you, man.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Great meeting you.
This has been another
Jeff.
episode of MITA Unshackled.